Hi, I'm English teacher Kebab. Remember rule number 1. English is a crazy language. Okay, let's talk about the letter E in English today. It's a small little letter, but it's very vital, very important, very pivotal in learning English. And we're going to talk about the different sounds that the letter E makes and what's the best way for you to pronounce them if you're going to learn English. So the first sound is the long sound. And like all vowels, E is a vowel. Vowels, when they say their own name, that's called the long sound. So the E being its own name, it says E. Okay? And there are some words that sound the E sound, like each and easy and eat and even and between. There's lots and lots of words that say the long sound. Okay? So that's fairly easy. And I'm going to come back to it in a minute, but first I want to talk about the short sound of E. Okay? It's eh, not I, not a, not it's eh, eh, okay? And there are lots of words in the English language that use the short sound of E, which is eh. For example, education, empty, end, enjoy, enter, ever, every, accept, explain, extra, and many, many more. Now, there's also a silent E. Yes, in English, remember, rule number 1 in English. English is a crazy language. That's why I make these videos, to help you understand. Everything I tell you, every rule I tell you, there's going to be an exception, and it's going to break the rule. But most of the time, when you see an E at the end of a word in English, and before that E at the end is a consonant, and remember, a consonant is any letter that's not a vowel. The vowels are A, E, I, O, and U, sometimes Y. But when you see an E at the end of the word with a consonant before it, and an E before that, or any vowel for that matter, but we're talking about the letter E, then the E at the end is silent and doesn't say anything, but it makes the E before the consonant say its own name. Okay? It doesn't always work, but it works most of the time. And I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. So for example, the word met, M-E-T, it's pronounced met. But when there's an E at the end, M-E-T-E, it's meat. And when you have the word pet, P-E-T, you put an E at the end and it's Pete. That's a man's name. There are several words like that in the English language. Not just with the letter E, but with all the vowels. So there are silent E's that are at the end of a word, and when it comes, if it follows a consonant and it has the letter E or any of the vowels before it, it makes that vowel say its own name most of the time. Keep in mind, English is a crazy language. There are words like the word have and love that end in an E, a silent E, but it doesn't make the vowel before it say its own name. So just keep that in mind. Then the letter E has the ED endings, which confuse a lot of my students. And I want to talk to you about that. There are actually 3 pronunciations for the ending ED. The first one is t, as in asked and danced and dropped and laughed and walked and wished. And I'll show you in a minute how to tell the difference between the next one that I'm going to talk about, which is that what I just talked about is the soft ED, and it sounds like a T. The next is the hard D sound, which is D, like the letter D, as in covered, cried, filled, happened, moved, turned. And then the last one is the id sound, as in accepted, counted, decided, divided, ended, wanted. It's ED, and it actually sounds like an ED ending. So those are the three. Now let me explain to you how you can, most of the time, not all the time, how you can tell most of the time whether it's the soft ED, the hard ED, or the ED sound, id. So I tell people to put their three fingers right here. This is called your voice box. And when you talk, your voice vibrates, okay? But the letter right before the ED in the soft ED, you don't feel any vibration. So the letter K before asked, there's no vibration. Danced, dance, there's no vibration. Drop, there's no vibration. So it's asked, danced, dropped, laughed, no vibration. Laughed, walked, no vibration. Wish, shh, no vibration. So all of those make the T sound after them. Now for the hard D sound, when you put your fingers right here, the letter right before, or the sound right before the ED, you do feel vibration. So cover, feel the vibration. Covered, cried, I, cried. Fill, filled, okay? Happened, you feel vibration. Happened. Move, moved. Turn, turned. That makes the hard D sound. Now again, that doesn't mean it happens every single time, but most of the time that's the case. Now, there's the ED sound, id. Most of the time, if there's a T or a D before the ED, that makes the id sound. So accepted, counted, decided, divided, ended, wanted. Okay? Again, everything I tell you, that's a rule in English, there's an exception to it, and it breaks the rules. So I hope that helps at least a little bit. You can watch the video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.